So then, I saw the other day that the Alton Towers dungeon's closing date has been moved forward, with it originally being the 19th of July, and it has in fact been moved forward to the 3rd of July. The announcement of this news kind of spurred the thought about what could we see this attraction actually be? Because the reason it's closing is because it's going to have an overhaul and the park hasn't really announced too much on it, but they've said it's to do something within the space for Scarefest, which really spurred the thought for me of what are they going to do in this space. Now, I'll be honest with you all, there's a very high chance that the reason that this news has sort of spurred this thought in my head was last week, and when planning last week's video, I went into the thought of what we could see happen with the Black Mirror space and whether that could be used over at Thorpe Park as a maze for like Hyperia. Then this news was announced. That's probably why this spurred the thought for the same thing to happen at Towers. But this really has been something which I think could be quite interesting for this Scarefest, and really might, if they do it properly, be the standout attraction that Towers has this year for the event. And that's purely because I think the more interesting things you do with an attraction, the better it is overall. It's kind of that thing of fortune favours the bold. The more of an interesting thing you'll do for an attraction makes it better. And that is what I'm going to go over in this video, because I can see it being quite a few things of like the dynamic of the attraction. Although I'm not going to go into details that are obviously we won't know till closer, like theme of it, the type and style of attraction is one which I think could be quite interesting, because obviously the Dungeons does have in the middle of it the boat ride, with it originally being Charlie and the Chocolate Factory ride at the park, and before that Toyland Tours. There is a boat system within this building which might be used for this attraction at Scarefest. I don't think the park has said whether it hasn't yet, which kind of means it could be. And that leads me on to my first point. I think the first very logical choice we could have is a linear scare attraction, either encompassing the boat ride or not. And that is really, I know that's a boring choice, but because we've seen attractions at Towers obviously be very linear routes, I think this could be the park's unique attraction where you've got the ride system of the boat ride. I don't know if you can have actors interact with the boats. I don't know if there's safe places for people to stand and interact with the ride system with being kept away from it, so it's obviously not a safety hazard. But that I think could be something that would be quite interesting. And they could even go down the route of making it more a family style scare maze, because the park does lean towards families as well, with things like Trick or Treat Town, and you have sort of less scary attractions. This could be one which is more family orientated, with small little scare maze section, not too intense, the boat ride part, and then the bit at the end after the boat ride is another little bit of a maze as a finale scene, is something which I think could really work and would be quite cool to see the park do, because I have to say it's a big old building that there is a lot they could do within it. After that, one which I'm not sure how exactly they would make this work, but it's something which I think is highly possible, is that I'm pretty dead certain Daz Games Panic will return this year for the park's Scarefest lineup, purely because people I spoke to really enjoyed it. I didn't find it too bad whatsoever, and in interviews Bianca has openly expressed that the park saw it as a really great success and people loved it, which isn't necessarily wrong, is it? I know there was a few quibbles I made in my video about it, mainly in terms of the level of theming. It worked as an attraction, especially with the interactive wristbands, which for those of you who didn't go in the attraction, it was essentially you went in the beginning, you put your names all into like this system, and it told you symbols that you had to search for. Like I think mine was a hat and a target, I think, or something like that. And then what you did when you went into the attraction was you had to walk around with your wristband on, find your symbols, scan your wristband against it. Once you found both of them, it would let you out of the attraction. It would time your score and everything, and you'll be put on a leaderboard. It was great fun, which made up for the part of it not being necessarily too scary. But given that everyone's main quibble was it wasn't very scary, and it wasn't very themed in that it was mainly just a show building with some strobe lights every now and then, and it very heavily relied on just what the actors could do with it, moving it to something like the Dungeons building, which already has a bit of theming to it, they could move this around and say this is set in a castle or a dungeon, given it was the Dungeons, and you could carry that theme over. Not only would it be an attraction which we like hunting around for the symbols, they could have that theme integrated with not too much that needs to be done. And it would also make it great because it's different rooms. You could have symbols in certain rooms and different actors, and the part of it having those different rooms in it would be great, as the actors could have a buffer between that part to separate different themes and different, because he made the point of like fear of clowns and stuff. You could separate that then between the different rooms in the attraction. Now that is one which I think is a big tangent, but it's something I wanted to mention because I think it's also quite possible. There's a lot that could happen here. We don't actually know yet, but that's one which I think would be great. And the last one which I think would be great to see, but I'm not really sure on how it would work, is have a linear sort of attraction like would be in the first option up to the boat ride section, and then integrate that. Again, it might not be integrated, but I'm going to be optimistic and hope it is. And then if they integrate that as part of the attraction, after that go full bore if they're going to go for a proper scare attraction, and have a bit of a free flow element, which I don't know how the layout of the dungeon works, so that might be something that's not doable. But if they were able to open it up in a way that you could have free flowing rooms with a nice finale part to this maze, I think it would make it very unique and great, because it would be a decently intense maze with that sort of element to it, but also a very cool attraction with it integrating the boat ride. I'll be honest, the main thing which I keep going back to in this is the hope that they'll integrate the boat ride. It's something which I'd really like to see. So I guess that would be one downside to if they did put Daz Games Panic in here. It wouldn't really use the boat ride, because I don't know how they could really integrate that if they did at all. Hey, Daz Games Panic might not return, by the way. That's just my speculation that I think it will, so I could be completely wrong. But I'd love to know what you think on this. What attraction do you think we could possibly see in there? Do you think it would be a family sort of based one, or do you think it would be a full-bore scare attraction? And more importantly, the bit which I'm quite excited about, do you think they'll integrate this boat ride into this attraction? Because I'll be honest, I'm really hoping for it, because it's such a good opportunity to. Thank you all for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please do like and subscribe. It really does make the world of difference and really does help this channel out. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.